Yeah, the overall idea of the whole movie was, like doing digital effects, doing a certain look in the movie, and then like trying that it doesn't look like science fiction.
Yeah.
We thought, it should look like real. I think it's such a outrageously fantastic story that like everything which looks real helps the idea and helps the movie. And then like on the second day of shooting or third day of shooting, my assistant comes with a cassette, 2-3 cassettes of actresses. And one he said, oh, this is like some from Israel, like some agent sent this to us, you talk to him. I said, who, Morris? Yeah, I remember, like, that's the girl you talked about, and it was like 2-3 months ago. So I kind of pop in the cassette and like watch it, and she had like totally blonde hair. She had looked totally different than everybody thought like this girl should look. And I kind of walked out of the trailer and said, get her. I don't know where she is. She was like studying acting in New York. And they flew her in the next day. She came like on this big set, and I looked at her and I said, can we read the scene? And then we read the scene, and then I said, can you go to costume? And she said, why I should go to costume? I said, because you got the part, and then like I have to shoot another scene now. The only way to do is like really kind of storyboard this very accurately, but I also told them that like a storyboard can never be really accurate representing a room until, like Peter Mitchell said, I can make it accurately representing the room and like simply taking the measurements of the set and building like a 3D model in the computer, and then you choose the camera angle and I tell you exactly what's in picture and not. And then we did this for all the bigger set pieces, and we defined exactly the height of certain walls, a certain thing, which worked just fine. I think most of the work conceptually with actors is done before the shoot, and I think in all this discussion with the actors comes out like what to do and what would be most feasible and best to do for the movie, and what like character function, you want to give like a certain character, and you simply like kind of try to figure it out beforehand. And then actually on the set it's only like trying to keep kind of this kind of plan up, and only interfere when you have the feeling this goes now like in a direction which will not serve the overall picture. And I'm not such a fan of rehearsing. I'm more a fan of like conceptually figuring out, what to do, and then like trust the actor to kind of do it. And also like, you have always this surprise element, when an actor the first time is doing a scene in front of the camera. Right. It's always like exciting at the moment because something like from words and concept all of a sudden becomes real. And when you like rehearse a lot, I think there's always the excitement level is already down before you even start. For example, when like James Spader is like doing certain scenes, in the movie, kind of like his character was like a little bit like quirky and like unsure of himself and a little bit sometimes even geeky. And you don't want to kind of plan this too much, and you don't want to rehearse that too much because it comes out of situations. And you create a situation with all the actors in front of camera, and then you make one master shot which pretty much like nails down the shot or the scene. And I was constantly saying, I don't want to have a cliche. And I think like Jay Davidson was the least cliche we could come up with. It was actually an idea where I kind of all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm not looking for an older actor anymore because it's so boring, the old man character.
Exactly.
And so I kind of like threw out, like young actors. I said, like, why we don't take a 20-year-old or like 25-year-old or whoever, a child. And then all of a sudden, like, somebody was saying, like actually Mario Casar was saying, Jay Davidson. And we all like stopped in our tracks, sitting around. And all of a sudden, everybody said, And I kind of, he comes into a room and he's a different like person. I always say he's not from this planet.
Yeah.
And so he fitted perfectly actually for this part because he has like brings something which is different. Yeah, the overall idea of the whole movie was, like doing digital effects, doing a certain look in the movie, and then like trying that it doesn't look like science fiction.
Yeah.
We thought, it should look like real. I think it's such a outrageously fantastic story that like everything which looks real helps the idea and helps the movie. You have to always divide it probably like in two kinds of things. There are like certain effects which should work as an effect.
Right.
Whether people say, like effect, and like get like a kick out of it that it's an effect. But there's certain kind of scenes and moments and special effects where you should not even know that it's an effect. So what we did was like sometimes a very kind of strange combination of like real things, and then digitally kind of use them or alter them into something. So that the basic material was always, in most cases, like a real image.
Right.
It was not computer generated. Process, because when you have really good people working for you, they surprise you when you let them loose. Like drawings of Patrick Topopoulos, and we immediately both felt he's the right guy to do it. And then we like really did something really, like untypical for these kind of things. We simply said to him, "You do it. When you're finished, show it to us. Don't like involve us in the whole process, because we already tried certain things and we're not happy with it. So you simply like take some Egyptian drawings and art and do it your way,
right.
Because we want to have something which has like you written over it and not our, and it worked just perfectly." The very first idea was like to start with like a ring gets found like in the 20s or 30s, because there are all the big discoveries, the last big discoveries were done in that time, and then after that nothing was really found anymore because they picked pretty much up everything by then. And I also had the feeling this is like the romantic kind of feeling people have about archaeology. It's like a certain like time period where like English people, Swedish, a lot of Germans, a lot of French people like went out there in the world and were digging up artifacts, robbing them from their native countries and put them in like museums like between Berlin, Paris and London. And that was kind of the feeling, and I thought when they find something different, it would have been that time. And all of a sudden, like in the editing process, it hit me. Everybody kind of thought I'm totally nuts. I tell you, honest to God, everybody thought I'm totally nuts. Now he's shooting like a scene for 3-4 days, and everybody thinks it's an exciting opening, and everybody's like really happy with it. And then they say, okay, there's like, you only see this light coming first, and then everybody says, yeah, but like, there should be the spaceship coming. I say, yeah, I don't know. But, let's shoot something. So he shoot like some spaceship stuff, And then the scene is finally together, and we started testing and stuff, and everybody like wrote down like the opening and stuff like that. And I was the only person, really the only person who always kind of said, let's cut this in. Let's cut this in. And I can tell you exactly why. When you kind of start a movie which is like a close encounter kind of feeling, with a spaceship, in the very first moment, you start to expect that every next scene something happening like that too.
Right. Just gets bigger.
And yeah, and that's not good, because the movie is another kind of movie. The movie is, there's one kind of thing gets found, and then people have to figure it out. And then they go somewhere else and have to figure out in what situation they are. And then in the midpoint of the movie, all of a sudden something comes. It's a very kind of old storytelling tool, which like comes like from fairy tales, In fairy tales, there's like a young innocent hero, and he gets like a glowing stone, and this glowing stone has a magic, and this magic transports him into an adventure. It's the same kind of thing. It's like this time it's a kind of artifact, a ring, which has a backstory, and then people have to go through to find out what the backstory is, and have to deal with it. And that's exactly the old like storytelling tool. You know, you can. It's very typical. It's like time machine was like a device like that. Certain kind of scenes which you never have, you know exactly what you're doing, you never like alter it, you shoot it and you cut it and you never even touch it anymore. The very first image, you know, it, like I had always for this movie was a pyramid and a spaceship lands on it. And people know a lot now that like it's a kind of really complicated and long process, you know. But I think, you know, like CD-ROM can help like to make it even more clear how complicated and how like aggravating and how like hard work it is to get something on screen, and understand like what kind of problems you're facing and what also like kind of what kind of team process this is. You know, everybody's like always talking about the director and the star, but I think a crew is like 500 people. And our movie, like at least like more than 1,500 people worked in this movie. So I think every one of them is like important, you know, and I'm simply a team player. I love to kind of work with people together. I'm not like this loner guy who like comes in the morning to the set and doesn't want to talk to anybody and only wants to kind of like talk to the cameraman and the actors. I'm more like hanging around with the electricians and kind of like joke about things, you know. It's like I simply like to have a group of people where everybody feels good about the movie and everybody kind of contributes something, you know, to the movie, and that's like, but I always like hope that like the messages, you know, for like especially people who are interested in movies, you know, that because a lot of movies get made in a very kind of rough and nasty atmosphere, and I don't like that. If you don't have fun with your work while doing it. You know, like let them like use their creativity first, and then you know you kind of like start to interfere and say, you know, this goes in a direction which I think is not working, and then but then at least, you know, they had like a chance to come up with things, you know, which add something to the movie which I wouldn't have like, you know, come up with. And I like the process because when you have really good people working for you, they surprise you when you let them loose.